Hi, my name is Monica Alford. I am the founder and CEO of Wildside Media, and I'm back in Legacy Sessions in Adams Morgan today with 3 finalists of the 2024 RAMMYS, and this is my 4th and final interview with finalists in 3 different categories, and I'm super excited to have these amazing ladies in. And I'm gonna let them each introduce themselves, their name, the restaurant they're a part of, their role, and what they were nominated for.
I'm Kristen Wilson. I work at Causa in Shaw neighborhood. I'm a server, and I'm nominated for Employee of the Year.
My name is Janice McLean, and I am a food and beverage manager at Estuary. That's at Conrad, DC, of Hilton, and I was nominated for Manager of the Year.
Nice, cool. So my name is Mary. Hello, everyone. Mary Mendoza. I am a pastry chef at Centrolina and Piccolina, chef de cuisine in training. I am nominated for Pastry Chef of the Year. I am nominated for my old job, Hole in the Wall, Tonari, Tasting Dessert Bar, Bantam King. So I'm looking forward to hearing each other's stories.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies. I really appreciate everyone being here. So this is kind of fun because out of all the interviews I've done, this is the first time that I have one from each category. But I think the questions I would ask are pretty similar, which, to start, just knowing how long you've been with the particular restaurant or restaurant group and what that experience has been like, why this feels like the right spot for you to be. And you don't have to go in order. We don't always have to start with you. No pressure. We can bounce around. But yeah, just to tell us a little bit about the restaurant that you're a part of and why that feels like, the right spot for you right now for your career. Whoever wants to go. I'm gonna stop making eye contact with people.
I can start. I feel that I am where I am because it's actually full circle. I'm nominated for Pastry Chef of the Year. Centrolina was a place that I felt like I was molded into a very good pastry cook. That was 6 years ago. And then I decided that I was going to venture forth, find other things to do, like other places to work at. And then I ended up going to work at the place I was nominated for, Tonari, during the pandemic. So I became a chef during the pandemic. It was really difficult because I was hired as a pastry chef. And then at that time, they were like, well, we don't need a pastry chef. They're like not important, not essential to the industry at that point. And so I learned to cook savory. And circling back, I'm learning to cook savory at that place. It made me want to go back to Centrolina, learn from our supreme leader, Chef Amy Brandwine, about fish and meat. So that's where I'm at now. I want to be able to do both savory and sweets. So that's my gist of my situation right now.
Oh, very cool. So it expanded made you ambidextrous, I guess, in that way, right?
Yes.
Do you feel that's rare, to be more on the savory side or the sweet side as a chef? Or do you think it's moving more towards this, where you embrace both?
I embrace both. I enjoy, like, for example, like part of my day is like when I go to work, like, I like cut fish, portion the tuna or like clean the salmon. So I find it really like, it's very soothing to like prep that. And then like, for example, last night I was like, I'm on pasta, helping cook pasta, like orecchiette, which was cool. And then like this morning I was like, I'm sorry I was late, ladies, because I was still making pizza flour at like 2:15 and I was like rushing to get here. So I like being able to touch every aspect of cooking.
Yeah.
And grow like it. When I visualize it, it's like a plant, all directions of the plant are like growing, like reaching to the sun.
I like that visual. It's a
Yeah.
really beautiful visual.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's a really awesome story.
Oh, thank
Congratulations
you.
on your growth, by the way.
Thank you.
I have been with my current role at the Estuary for about 10 months, and that is with Hilton, and I was with Hilton prior at another property for about a year as a food and beverage manager also. My story is a little different in terms of management. A lot of my colleagues go to school. They've been to school for management, and then they cross over and they start working in their role. My claim to fame is I grew up through service. So I didn't start off as a hospitality professional as my end goal. I feel like hospitality chose me. So really, I went to school. I was putting myself through school. I was putting my brother through school, and I worked service. So everything from bartending to serving to VIP bottle service, and eventually I got picked to do management. And initially, when you're a server or a bartender in that role, it's kind of a pay cut. So you're like, well, do I want to do this or not do this? But I found that in food and beverage, you really need managers. Like, it's key. The leadership is key. It's very top down. So you have to lead your team for service and hospitality, and it's really important. So I rose to the challenge, and eventually the passion just took over, and I was like, I want to do this full time for a living.
Yeah.
So I said goodbye to my old career path, even though I'd been in food and beverage the whole time, and I owned it. And one thing I will say, the business, the bottom line are very important to me. The guest, the customer is super paramount and important to me. But one thing about my management style, my staff is everything to me. So you're only as good, I think, as the people that you lead in your team and the people that you put in front of the guests and the experience. You could have the same 2 restaurants side by side, serving the same food, same cuisine, and you can have 2 different staffs. And it's all up to the leader. So I'm very passionate about it, and I'm very proud. And I actually work in a union environment where sometimes management and staff are just on 2 different sides of the fence. But I'm proud to say I've bridged that gap, and I really love my team, and it's changed the whole fabric of my work environment. So I would say hospitality is just a chosen profession, and it's one of those things where I think some people don't necessarily take food and beverage seriously, right? Like, my mom's like, go get a government job or something like that. They don't quite understand, but it's a $bazillion industry.
Right.
And as we saw with COVID, when the scene closed, DC restaurants were closed, over a year? We got hit really hard.
Yeah.
And we lost some rock stars, I think, in our industry. And so holding on to the ones we have and then building up new ones, and like, you persevered through COVID. COVID was kind of like how you were born. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was no joke. The gloves were like more expensive than chicken. It was outrageous.
So case in point,
Yeah.
it's I think in hospitality, it's one of those things. The rock stars are just born through trial and tribulation, and sometimes you're as good as your last service, and sometimes there is crying in the walk-in, and it's okay. And I just love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. And the fact that my restaurant is in a hotel is a whole nother experience.
Yeah.
So you're not just dealing with a guest for one meal, and you're taking them through a journey of their stay. So I get to touch them for breakfast or brunch, but they can come back for lunch. They might order in-room dining, or they might have drinks on the roof. And you're really making a home away from home for these guests. So it's something I take very seriously. I love being in the front of the house. I'm very happy to touch tables, and I'm very good at damage control too. So
That's also an important skill.
Yes. So-
Well, sorry, please.
no, I just love what I do.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, and you speak very eloquently about it. You
Thank
both
you.
do. But one thing I just want to sing your praises for is, I know media is a completely different beast than hospitality, but I believe they're both creative industries, right? And I think that the creative community in DC is small and scrappy. And I'm a big believer in people paying their dues, being a generalist, trying lots of different things. I loved what you said about, a lot of people are trained or go to school for specifically to be, an F&B manager or whatever that track looks like, and that wasn't your path. And I think staying in the industry and working your way up because you're hardworking, because you have hustle, because you show that professionalism, because you have skills that not everybody has, like being great at public-facing opportunities and also handling damage control, and you treat your staff right. Like, those are things that just show. And my favorite people that I've worked with or brought in as editors and other things are, and I trust completely, are generally not trained journalists. That's not what they went to school for. They're not in media, but they bring all the skills needed And a lot of the things that, you learn in school, you're going to figure out anyway along the way while you're immersed in it every day. So kudos to you. I'd love to hear that. And I hear that a lot in F&B, but not always on the leadership level. So that's really amazing. I think you should share that story a lot, because I think Gen Z is still figuring out if they have to be, like go to school for the one thing. And then I don't know. I don't feel like there is they don't know they can be scrappy and hustle and not necessarily have a linear path. I think I want to encourage them that they can follow in our footsteps in this way. So I think that's an amazing story to tell.
Thank you. And it makes a big difference when your leader can roll up their sleeves. I mean, I was bussing tables this morning. I'm not above.
That's a good point too.
Running food. I'm not above, being on expo. I think when you lead, they follow.
Yep.
And it's so important, especially in an environment like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So I have been at Causa for 2 years this month. I was super nervous when I interviewed and they offered me the position because I knew nothing about Peru, nothing. And this was so outside my comfort zone. I knew French wine, I knew European wine and French food. And it was really stepping outside my comfort zone. So I went to the library from the interview and got every book that I could find on Peru. I gave my notice at my old job, and I just immersed myself. And the more I learned, the more fascinated I became of telling these stories, of being this conduit of a passion, right? Chad and Glendon and Carlos and everyone in the space just has so much passion for what we're doing, and it makes it so easy to also be passionate. I've never worked a more rewarding job in my entire life, and I'm in my mid-40s. Been in the industry a very long time. Just the dance we do and making it not formal, right? It's very informal, very knowledgeable, very again, just passionate. Right? We know what we're serving is the highest quality, and we know that it is super delicious because they take, months to come up with a new menu and make sure everything is great. We have these training nights with the wine and the food, and we are collaborative, and it's this small, passionate team. And at the beginning, we respected each other professionally from our jobs, right? And now we respect each other personally, and that kind of vibe, that kind of environment is infectious. When people come in, they don't know what is going to happen, what's about to go down, and we get to create that 2 times a night for 9 parties, right? And each one is different. Some people get the wine pairing, some people get cocktails, some just do food and have water, and this is the meal. People are celebrating and being invited into that. Is such an intimate thing, right? You are coming to us to celebrate your milestone with us. That is a privilege. It's really just amazing. And my brother lives in Alaska, and he just asks me all the time. He's like, "What is it like working at Causa?" And I have a lot of words. Okay, I usually have no problem describing something. I do it at work, right? I tell these historical stories for these wines and make it fun and approachable. And I'm like, I don't have words to describe it. It's just dope. Everything that we do is just incredible. And to have the accolades that we've had over the last 2 years, it's truly unbelievable to just be who we are and do what we do, and for everybody to vibe the way that they're vibing. It's remarkable.
Yeah, that's amazing. Your location has been, I think, one of the rising stars in a post-COVID world for sure. That we have so many to be proud of, all of these restaurants. But really, it's been really cool to see. And obviously, I know those guys from Service Bar, back in the day. And so it's really fun to see. You're right, the passion is palpable. But since you're so good with words, and the visual behind us is something from your restaurant, can you just tell us about this dish?
So this was, I think, probably in the top 5 dishes we've ever done in Causa. It's called choripan. It is a seafood sausage in this shokupan bun. Really beautiful. People would, they would say it tasted like real meat when it was just seafood. Like if you couldn't tell. And Michelin, it was on their list of favorite things that they had eaten for the season.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Thank you.
Do you want me to tell the whole story?
Oh, only if you want to.
Okay.
You don't have to.
It's inappropriate.
Yeah,
We
okay.
should.
We'll table it for take two. But thank you. No, I keep forgetting that we have these gorgeous visuals, and I'm like, I should, for those that are not just listening but are watching, we should talk about them because, people might want to know where they can get it and where it came from. So, I haven't asked this question actually with the other interviews, and I'm feeling very inspired by each of you. There's a lot of passion and a lot of articulation around what you love about what you do. So I think this is the right group to do this with. I spoke a little bit about wanting to support the next generation of folks in creative industries. I think it's really important to share stories that are, an example of something that was like hard that you dealt with, a challenge, now you overcame it, or any advice that you would give to somebody that's trying to break into the industry, and also from your respective roles, right? Like not just hospitality proper, but being a switch hitter and being able to go savory and sweet and wanting to do both, right? Which I can't believe anyone ever said sweet's not relevant, because I feel like everybody I know has a sweet tooth and will literally
Yes.
just go out for desserts all the time. And I'm a savory person, so I'm always like cheese and wine. Like I appreciate a beautiful dessert, but I literally have friends who only go on dates with their person or friends to just have desserts, even if it's at a restaurant. Like they just go in for like a drink and dessert. So I hope you know that. That's
Thank you.
but so like that might be something that you could speak to, speaking about being a boss, but also a fair and kind and great exemplary boss who rolls up their sleeves and gets dirty sometimes, because at the end of the day, it's a reflection on you, right? You have to do everything that everybody else would do, and then just like you said, moving into a space that was totally unprecedented for you and embracing it and feeling like you're like a part of it now, you're immersed in it. And yeah, so like any advice that you would give anyone who in those respective parts of the hospitality industry that's like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna make it, or like how do I even get my shot, or what should I do, or
I actually love this question, and it's just kind of near and dear to my heart because I don't want to say protege, but she worked on my nomination, and she's part of the reason why I'm here. So we have what's called a manager in development program with Hilton, and it's pretty spectacular. They take recent college graduates, and now they've extended a program to actually work on people within the industry in service positions who want to become managers. And so that's one thing I really love about them as a company, is they want to grow their people. And so I had the pleasure of having an MDP with me this past fall. She was with me for 6 months. And, even my own staff was very happy about how I treated her. Because basically, even in the throes of service, I would stop. I'd call her over. Her name is Tori. And I would say, Tori, this is why we're doing this, or this is why you don't want this, or this is why you should do this. And it was more, the trial and error of things I've learned. And it's important to pass the torch. And you're a product of your environment as well as the people who've come before you. And so, funny thing, I was touching a table, and the woman who's now heading the program happened to be at the table, and I was just talking about my experience with my MDP, and she was like, can I do an interview with you? I'd like to talk about your experience. And so I think it's so important because it can be a daunting environment. I mean, we all know service, back of house, things are flying, When I go to a restaurant, it's fun because I sit down and it's so peaceful and amazing, but behind that wall that it is super busy. And it's one of those things where you just want to know how to do things correctly or right. You don't always get it right, but if you kind of have a key or some roadmap, it makes it a lot easier. So I've actually volunteered to be a mentor and for future MDPs, and I really enjoyed the experience. I'm a mom, so I think sometimes the mothering comes out, but it's almost like I want to protect the team. Like, why should you go through this hardship? Because like you said, at the end of the day, we rise and fall together. The different sub-departments, it doesn't matter. That guest has an experience. The bottom line could be affected. Like, the team could be upset, or, so I really think it's important. Like, I think training and having, you know, this young generation come through is very important. So very passionate about it.
That's awesome.
Touching, like listening to your story, it really is nice that you are that type of a leader, manager, that you lead by example. And that is something that I hold very dear, is that I'll never ask you to do something I wouldn't do myself. And in terms of what I see now with the younger generation is, I know like years ago or like before them, the industry is like, in terms of kitchen, even front of the house, you know, because before I became a cook, I started out as a host. I started as host, food runner, busser, and then server, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna cross to the back of the house.
You're the whole restaurant.
Yes, except bartending, okay? I have not bartended, all right? What I would say is that I see that mental health is very important to this generation, so they're very cautious about, can I trust this leader? Can I trust this manager or chef? Would they take advantage of me? They're very cautious that they're gonna get taken advantage of, their mental health. So my advice is that with the younger generation, if I were speaking to my younger self, that believe in your gut. You know, if you feel like you can't communicate with your leader, manager, or chef, something's wrong. That my advice would be you need to work, especially young women, because like the cooking industry is very male dominated. If you don't feel safe, even if you think it's like a Michelin star restaurant, you shouldn't work there. Your health comes first.
Yeah.
And if you are that valuable, that gifted, that talented, you will find managers or chefs like Janice over here that's like a mama bear and hug you and like tell you what's going on. And that's what I've also noticed. I have a lot of young cooks. They will follow you, they will listen to you if you explain to them, why are we doing this? Where is the direction? They're very like conscientious about what, like the compass. Like if you're leading them, they want to know why you're going there.
Sure.
So my advice is find great leaders, trust yourself, and like you have to be healthy.
That's
a great point.
yeah, very well said. Yeah.
I think post-COVID, like you said, it's changed,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we used to, pre-COVID, you'd go to work, it didn't matter. You could have cut yourself, you could have, you know, you're sick, fever, it doesn't matter, you show up, right? And now it's definitely changed,
Yeah.
right? But for kind of going through the challenges, maybe not so much of the toxic, I mean, obviously that, but she covered that already. But more of focusing on what's important, right? What's important when you go and do your job in the hospitality industry is your guest.
Yep.
It's the experience that they're having, and you are crafting that, and anything that you can do to one up what their expectation is what you should do, right? And whether that's crafting narratives, whether it's overhearing something and giving extra hospitality, like if they are pointing to a cocktail, can't decide between the two, you know, just sending the other one, right? Or having the knowledge to be able to answer any question they have.
Yeah.
And admitting if you don't know the answer to a question they have and going and finding out. I think that over the course of my entire career has been the arc that it has taken, right? I mean, I worked in pool halls, dive bars, neighborhood spots, white tablecloth, Michelin, all the things, right? And that, to raise the expectation that they have when they come in that door is the most rewarding thing. And you will be the best of the best if you focus on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
No, that's really important. I was just thinking about some of my favorite dive bar bartenders that have gone on to do amazing things or were doing amazing things before that or during that, and they've built incredible reputations because they have regulars that come in, you know? And a lot of them are also, we were talking offline before about a mutual friend who's both an artist and has a hospitality background. There's a lot of folks like that, and that's another good example. Like, you treat people really well, and then suddenly you're sitting in front of a curator and they talk to you about your art because they like the tattoos on your arm, and you have a whole other conversation, and it opens other doors. So I think it also goes back to just treating people well, and, you know, connecting with people, and like you said, giving them the best experience. You know, that's really important. Regardless, I think that's the important part. Whether it's you don't only treat them that well when you're at a Michelin star restaurant. It should be
Always.
at the pool hall or the dive bar as well, because that speaks to who you are as a professional, regardless of the location. So yeah, that's important. Okay, well, I think the only other question I was going to ask is, unless there's anything else you guys want to tell me or say, is, you know, if you could say one thing that you really hope happens for DC, like being on the foodie map, you know, or being on as our hospitality industry grows and we continue to be recognized for, and by we, I mean the royal we, well, you continue to be recognized for all of your amazing accomplishments, and I'm very proud of them and get to share them through Wildside. You know, what's like 5-10 years down the road, what would be like a pie in the sky goal? We'd be like, man, that would be so cool if we had X. And it doesn't have to be your establishment, but just something you really hope for our industry locally that we don't, maybe we're not, it's not that we're not doing it well right now, but maybe we haven't had the same opportunities as in New York or in LA or Chicago, and you think we're going to get there, and you just want to see it happen while you're still in the industry.
Well, I think like down south, right, there's Southern cuisine, you know, out west, the healthy vibe, green vibe.
Smoothies,
For DC,
lots of smoothies.
yes, lots of smoothies. For DC, we're like the melting pot. We're the capital of the United States, but we're also the melting pot. My own staff, I did it one day. I pulled the flag from every single person on my team, and it was like 30 flags represented. And you have all these cultures and languages. Like, I realized a lot of my staff is Ethiopian, so now they're teaching me one Amharic word a day. So the word the other day was teragaga. That means calm down, which in food and beverage is really important. And so now when I say it, they get a kick out of it. But because of this, like last week we hosted NATO. You and I talked about that before we started. Next year we're hosting World Pride. And I think DC, just in terms of food and just as a city, we have all these amazing opportunities that other cities in the United States don't get because the government is here, you know, we're the seat of federal money. And like today I hosted a ton of Korean guests, and I had to learn what Korean breakfast looks like, which is actually kind of like dinner. It's like soup, but rice, and, you know, so it's one of those things. I think if we do well as a city, and everyone has to eat, you know, so if we can make that experience and build it, we get to host more of these amazing, exciting things where these people travel so far to be with us. I'm really excited about World Pride next year. It's going to be huge. And we're just like the stage for this. So I think as hospitality professionals, we just, you know, really have to contribute to an experience for our guests that come from so far, and making it great and just getting more and more opportunities like that. DC needs to be like on the map. We're a small city, but I think we're big in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, you're so cool. Like, you make me want to go to Estuary. Like, you should just win, okay?
Oh, you're so nice. Thank you so much. I want to go to everyone's place now.
What I would hope for in our industry is, from being a chef, what I have experienced most is I work with a lot of Latina women who cook and feel like they have to sacrifice their careers to take care of their children, because it usually falls on women childcare. So what I would hope for, because I'm in my mid-30s and I want to have kids too, what I would hope for in this industry, that one, the government, United States, like the whole society, values us more. I feel like this industry, the restaurant industry, is greatly underappreciated. Even not just the restaurant industry, but all other art forms like media or print, like you say. I think they don't know that art is, we're human. Like, that's the theme that I've got from our conversation, is that whether you're a chef, a manager, a server, it's the human thing to like enjoy, cater an experience, share stories. It's just not appreciated, the art of like connecting through food, connecting through service, that people expect you to be just on 24/7. Oh, why you're just, my server wasn't happy, or blah blah, the food, it wasn't like salted or something. I feel like the society that we're catering to should be more supportive, and I think I would hope that the way they could support is that to have more programs, like to like actually help the restaurant industry to be more financially stable. Like like for me as a chef, what I worry about is like rent, my staff, things like that, things that we don't talk about because everyone is just focused about the food. No, the food, the serve, they forget about the people that actually make that happen.
Right.
So my hope is that when I think about like cooks, like women, that they should like get, I don't know, a discount for childcare, because like sometimes I even like wrote a schedule where two of my cooks would like trade who's gonna watch their kid because they want to save on daycare. So I would hope that there are more programs for the restaurant industry. I'm not like saying, oh, like it doesn't exist in my job, but like help from the city is what I would hope for in the future. Is touching on like we have all these, we're like catering to like people from like delegates from Korea, World Pride. I think we need as a team, as a city, to combine forces and make that happen. Not just like on the backs of like our chef owners or hotel or whatnot, but like to be assisted, to be seen. That's what I hope for.
I think that's a very like important point, is, and we're all women here, is that food and beverage, it can be tough for women because of that. I'm a single mom, I have 3 teenagers, so I totally feel that. And then when I look around the room, very often I am the only female. I'm the only female on my leadership team. I think about my staff, there's definitely less women as opposed to males. And even my own banquet team has said, come down, can you work with us? We need some female energy downstairs because it's all male. So it's a very valid point, and I think just supporting the women, you know, that we currently have, and really celebrating and making sure that they have what they need to succeed. That's great if they're taking turns, helping each other. It's almost a little childcare co-op. I don't have family here, so I understand what that is like, and childcare is very expensive.
Exactly.
So I think that's a very valid point, and just celebrating women, because it is different, you know, coming from that female mindset.
Yeah. I have a few thoughts on that, but I also want to hear.
So I love that the last couple of years it has been, as you were saying, with different cultures' foods, different countries' foods.
Yeah.
And these are restaurants that are incredibly popular and on all the lists, and not seeing, you know, not that you don't want to see French restaurants, but, you know, the steakhouses and sort of the French bistros or what have you, these very quirky, owner personality driven things that are happening. And you can go across the street. I mean, I used to work at Perry's many years ago, and I haven't been down in Adams Morgan in a long time. When I drove by, I was like, wow, that's so cool. Maybe I can pop over and go say hi, you know. But having like neighborhoods where you could just bar hop or go for coffee or have dessert or have dinner and be able to experience all of this without having to leave the city limits. I mean, it's so beautiful, right? All of the things that you both said. I mean, it's we all learned what happened when we shut down March 2020, right? How disposable basically we were, and how it didn't matter that we were shut down, that everybody was shut down, right? and the immigration and things like that, and people just not being able to get assistance and food. Nothing was open. And then the support that we had after, was awesome. And then I think that it's kind of gone back down, this rubber band effect, right? It's like, oh, everything's open, everybody should be okay now. But there's all these things that the city is implementing that are affecting bottom line for restaurants. Minimum wage going up is, in essence, to help us be able to get insurance or any of the other things. But it causes people to close down businesses because they can't afford it. So like, how do you balance it, right?
Yeah.
And the influx of these great events and all of that money that comes in is definitely part of it. And I think that if, as you said, if we keep on the top of these lists, right, and we keep proving to the world that we're a destination place to come and eat, right?
Yeah.
That will help everybody. It will help everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to see that more diversity, if that's even a thing in DC. Can you be any more diverse? I don't think so. Maybe New York.
Yeah.
Maybe New York's more diverse. I don't know.
Well,
Restaurant-wise.
I'm probably the unpopular opinion of like DC limits versus the DMV because I grew up in Falls Church,
Right.
and so anytime someone that's not from here doesn't think we have a lot of diversity, I'm like, have you been to Eden Center? Do you know what our Ethiopian or Afghan population is? Like literally stone's throw 5 miles outside of the city or on the Montgomery County side, but Virginia and Maryland, Maryland's all right. I like Maryland, but Virginia, But point being that, yeah, I think we are so small. DC proper is so small. And I feel like the transients, as I call them lovingly, like those who are not like OG or they didn't grow up here, they don't necessarily associate the whole DMV with the DC food scene. And I think it is the parts of Maryland and Virginia that are so diverse that have made DC proper more diverse. And a lot of the folks that are running those kitchens or that are opening those concepts did grow up in those areas or have family in those areas because it's really expensive to live in DC proper, So I actually think we appear a little more homogenous on like the white affluent side in DC proper, and it's all these surrounding areas that really are more representative of what we've got. There's like Nat or a floaty or something. I was like, what is that? But yeah. So anyways, but that's just something I talk a lot about. And I'm part Mexican, but I appear very white and Irish, like the other side of my family. So I have a lot of Latin pride growing up in the area, and just things that I talk about when they're the right time to talk about. And I think this is one of them. But DC proper is also very diverse in its hospitality concepts for sure. But I think that I would like to see that bridge gapped a little bit more, like crossing the river. It's like it's not like it's Manhattan to Hoboken, okay? We're not that far, like we're like in Miami where like people won't go from one side to the other. Like I think it's pretty close. Everything's pretty close to get to. So, but the only thing I was going to mention because we're all women and because 3 of us are moms, and I only know that because the story we're not telling on air. I know that you have a 12-year-old, and that you want to be a mom.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I think women. I've been speaking just in the interviews for the RAMMYS with a lot of folks in hospitality, but in general, a lot of female interviewees that are in creative industries that I've talked to in the past 6 months probably. We've all been saying that in a post-COVID world, the importance of connection and everybody being a little braver, a little more vocal of just like, I'm tired of X, Y, and Z that wasn't working. We need to change things and we need to share our stories. And if we don't, then how can we learn from them and how can we improve things? And you can do that in a way without slamming a former employer or throwing someone under the bus. It's hard because we're so small and everybody kind of knows maybe who you're talking about. And so I think people are really afraid to like stand up and say something. Mm-hmm. But if you don't share your stories, then what good is this? So I've been talking to, and by this I mean supporting the creative industry and growing and getting the city's support. So I've been thinking about ways to do live storytelling and panel discussions that are specific to these topics, but taking folks from different creative industries, but not just like what's it like to be a woman in hospitality. It's like, what is it like to be like a mom in this industry? We could even do one that's just if you're a single parent, if you're a parent with a partner who doesn't have a lot of leave, or they don't have the same flexibilities, or whatever your arrangement is. Like I think digging in and creating these like kind of micro safe spaces on these topics and having these conversations is really important. And I'm trying to think about a way to do it where again people don't feel like they're going to be put on blast or they're in any way it's hard to share a personal story without people knowing what you might be talking about. So how do you do that and also have a safe space for each other? So I'll keep you guys posted because I would love for you to be a part of that. But I think that's really important, and I do think that women are in a particularly, we are still the minority in creative industries and especially in leadership roles. And it's important to talk about that and all the unsexy things, like you said, that happen behind the scenes, that really make everything run. Like I ran two magazines for 10 years, and I'd be sitting with my designer at 3 a.m, agonizing over like the kerning on a word, and everyone just thinks I just go out to like press events and stuff. But I made that magazine just as much as my interns and everybody else on the team. And at the end of the day, I was the one doing the final everything till the lights turned off or the sun came up or whatever. So I think it's a labor of love, but it's really important to remember all those things that happen behind the scenes. So basically reiterating everything you guys just said, but I do think that it means a lot to have an open conversation where you each talked about the support that we really need. And I think the city loves creatives. They think we're shiny and we make them look good, but they also need to pay to help us continue to put out great content, to make great food, to showcase the diversity of the city. So that's another conversation I want to have. I'll keep you posted. That's all I got.
All right.
I'm really excited for you guys to be there on Sunday rooting you on, and congratulations to each of you. And thanks for making time to chat today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having
Yeah,
us.
of course. Yeah. And that's it.